All right, so I'm going to start with number 1. Then I definitely, like I said, I want to do number 7 and number 9 with you. Because if you'll notice, if you look at like the answers up here, see how F has a 3 out in front of it? It looks a little bit different than the answers that we're used to seeing. That's because 7 and 9 can be simplified before we factor them. So I want to show you those two since we haven't seen those before. And then after we do number 1, number 7, and number 9, if there's other ones on there that you guys want to go over, we can definitely do that, okay? So if I'm going to solve number 1, the first thing I would do is rewrite the problem, right? I'm going to say 1 is 3x squared plus 7x plus 2, because I know it's quiz grade, so I definitely want to show my work so I get full credit. And then I also know that if I'm factoring this, I need to multiply that 3 and the 2 together first, right? So I'm going to say, okay, 3 times positive 2. 3 times positive 2 gives me 6. So I'm looking for factors of 6 that add to 7. And I know I want them to add to 7 because I always want to add to whatever my number or my coefficient is in front of x. So I take my two n numbers, I multiply them, and then I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to 6 and add to 7. I know my options or my factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. 1 plus 6 is going to give me 7. 2 plus 3 is going to give me 5. So I'm going to choose 1 and 6, since 1 and 6 multiplies to 6 and adds to 7. So then, since I've chosen those numbers, I'm going to write out my two sets of parentheses. I'm going to split up my x squared. So I have an x in each parentheses. Both of my factors were positive. So I have a plus 1 and a plus 6. But since I multiplied by 3 to get my factors, I need to divide by 3. And then I'm going to simplify anywhere I can. So I'm going to say, okay, well, 1/3 doesn't simplify. I can't even reduce that fraction. So I'm going to take this 3 and bring it up. Here, 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. So I really have x, I really have 3x, because I had to bring that 3 up, right? 3x plus 1, and then x plus 2 as my final answer. So then I can make sure I'm right because I should be able to find 3x plus 1 and x plus 2 as one of the options, one of the colors up in the grid, right? So I'm going to scroll back up. I'm looking for 3x plus 1 and x plus 2. Let's see. 3x plus 1 and x plus 2. Oh, it's black. I see it right here. So then what you're going to do is you would go back to that first slide, and any of the B's that you see on that first slide, you're going to click on them and color them black. And what's going to happen is as you get more answers, it's going to reveal a picture for you. If your picture looks a little bit wonky at the end, then you know that those colors are the ones you have to go back and check. So you should be able to fully check yourself to make sure that you're like 100% getting this right and getting a beautiful magical quiz grade. Right, for the 4th marking period? Okay. before we do number 7 and number 9, which are they look a little different, they have an extra step because they can be simplified first, do you want me to do another one of these? No, you feel okay with these? Okay. All right, so let's look at number 7. Number 7 says 6x squared plus 9x minus 6. 7 says 6x squared plus 9x minus 6. Double check myself. Yep. 6x squared plus 9x minus 6. So I notice right away that 6 and 9 and 6 are all factors. They all have a factor of 3. They're all multiples of 3. So I want to simplify as much as I possibly can before I try to factor, just because if I can get smaller numbers to work with, I want to work with the smallest numbers possible so that I'm not looking for factors of huge numbers and wasting my time. So anytime I can take out something or I can simplify all 3 numbers by the same number, I'm going to do that. So since I can take each of these numbers and I can divide them by 3, it has to be the same number in order for me to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the 3 outside in front, and this 3 is just kind of going to hang out with us the entire time and be out in front. That's why some of those answers we saw, the parentheses had like a 3 right in front of it, or there's some that have a 2 right in front of it, because that 3 is just going to kind of hang out with us. Because we can't take it and completely get rid of it, but we can take it and kind of put it off to the side so that we're working with smaller numbers. So once I pull out the 3, then I just want to know what's left over, and in order to figure out what's left over, I'm literally just going to do, okay, 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. So now I have 2x squared plus 9 divided by 3 is 3x plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. And now what's inside those parentheses, that's what I'm actually going to factor, and I'm just going to drag the 3 along to be in my final answer. So the 3 is just going to be outside the parentheses in my final answer, and I'm going to factor 2x squared plus 3x plus 2 exactly the same way we factored the last one. I'm going to say, okay, 2 times 2 gives me 4. So now I want factors of 4. That add to 3, because 3 is the number in front of my x. I have 2 options. I have 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. They need to be, so one of them needs to be negative, right? Oh, did I? That's why, because I lost the negative here, right? Look, this should have been negative because it was a negative to begin with. So it should have been negative 4. So one of them needs to be negative. If I want the number to be positive, though, I'm going to want the smaller number to be negative, because when I'm adding numbers with different signs, it's really like I'm subtracting them and then just keeping the sign of the bigger one. So I want the 1 to be negative. 2 and 2, they're both the same, so one of them would be negative. So what 2 factors do I want to use? Yeah, the negative 1 and the 4 gives me 3. So when I write my set of parentheses now, I'm literally just bringing this 3 down with me and then writing my 2 sets of parentheses and saying, okay, split up my x squared. I've got a negative 1 and a positive 4. And now I need to divide both of my factors by the 2 that I multiplied by. So it's not the 3 that I'm going to divide by, it's the 2 that I'm going to divide by. So I go in and I divide by 2 where I can. I can't simplify it in my first set because it's just 1/2, but I can simplify it here. 4 divided by 2 is just 2. So then my final answer is going to be 3 bring the bottom up, 2x minus 1 times x plus 2. So then you would go back up to the grid that has all the answers in it and find 3 times 2x minus 1 and x plus 2. Do we see it? Let's see. 3. Well, we have 2 options, right? Right away I see that I have a 3 in front here. Come on, pen. I have a 3 in front here. And I have a 3 in front here. Which one do I want, the F or the G? F. So now all of the F's are going to be gray. Do you want to do number 9 together, or do you feel okay with it? Yeah, let's do it. Why not, right? What the heck? We're just having so much fun, we might as well do it together. So we've got 4x squared plus 30x plus 14. 4x squared, number 9, 4x squared plus 30x plus 14. So again, we look at that, and what can we divide all of those by? What number can we simplify that by? 2. They can all be divided by 2. So since I can divide each of these by 2, I'm going to bring the 2 out in front. And I'm going to say, okay, 4 divided by 2 is going to give me 2x squared. Plus 30 divided by 2 gives me 15x. Plus 14 divided by 2 gives me 7. So now I only have to multiply 2 and 7 instead of having to multiply 4 and 14 and looking for giant factors. So when I multiply 2 and 7, I get 14. So I want factors of 14 that add to 15. So if you can recognize, as soon as you look at that, if you say, oh, factors of 14 that add to 15 would be 14 and 1, you don't need to sit there and list out all the factors. If you can pick out right away which 2 numbers you should use, you can go right to writing your set of parentheses. So if you don't need the list of factors and you can just write your parentheses, yay you, we're proud of your brain, and you can absolutely do that. But sometimes when you get stuck, it's nice to have that option of writing out the factors and like looking at all the options, because sometimes you like forget a factor, or you're just in your head, you're adding 14 and 1 and getting 13 or something weird is happening. So you can always write it down, but if you pick it out right away, you don't have to sit there and list them all if you can figure it out. So since we know that the factors of 14 that add to 15 are 14 and 1, I'm just going ahead and write down my parentheses with my factors in them. And then before I can finish the problem, I've got to divide by this 2 that was in front of the x squared. So I divide both of my factors by 2. My first set of parentheses isn't going to simplify, so I bring the bottom up. My second one is going to become a 7, because 14 divided by 2 is 7. So then I have 2 times 2x plus 1 and x plus 7. So you have now 12 problems left to do on your own. if the first slide with the mystery picture on it is making your eyes like cross-eyed and it's frustrating you, if you'd rather just like drop in a text box on the second slide and tell me which answer you got for each problem, I'm okay with that. If you don't want to check yourself with that mystery picture, if it's like making you go cross-eyed and clicking all those little buttons is frustrating you, you don't have to do the mystery picture. Just give me drop in a text box, give me the answers on the second slide or the colors that you got for each one. But I will, how about I give you, if you do the mystery picture, what do you think, 10 extra credit points? 15? What do you think it's worth? 15? All right, so if the mystery picture is complete, you can get 115 on it. If you don't want to make the mystery picture because it's making your eyes go cross-eyed and clicking all those little buttons is a pain in the tuchus, then you're just giving me the answers on the second slide. Okay? Oh, you guys are magical. Magical.